Welcome back, fishing friends, to another adventure. We're out on the river. Looks like somebody lost a float rig. Just throwing the flat A, bomber flat A. All right, guys, we're hooked up on the rattle trap. Boy, she's big. I just gotta let it play out. All right, let's check it out and see what it is. Is it a drum? Oh, it's a nice striper. It's a big fatty. It's a big fat one. Oh, come on. There we go. Let's get a weight on this dude. Let's see what he is. .3. He just hit like a Mack truck. Check out that fish. Super fatty. All right, guys, there we go. It's a nice fish right there. That's what I'm using right there. Fathead minnow rattle trap. Boy, he just clocked it. I had to get off this rock and walk down the beach a little bit. But this one's on the new Mojo bass rig. The 6'8", 15-pound braid, 12-pound fluorocarbon. Just slow cranking it in there. And boy, he just spanked it. 16, 17 inches, something like that. All right, guys, I'm throwing the Smithwick Rogue. We'll see how this goes. The wind was supposed to be out of the south. It feels more like it's out of the northwest, but it's not cold anymore. We got to be up in the 60s at least. Man, that looks good in the water. And if you just leave it there, you can hear that rattle all the way up here, but if you just leave it there, it just hovers. Good stuff. This one I got on the Mach 2, the Lose Mach 2. Same thing, 15-pound braid, 12-pound fluoro leader. And this guy just twitch along. and just have fun. See, the seagulls are chasing bait fish all over. I saw a big school of bait fish come by, so they're out and about now. Look at all the vultures up there. There's tons of them. Ooh, check it out. A couple of them dove into the water to get some bait fish, those seagulls. Alright, so stuff's starting to get active, guys, here towards the end of February. I'm starting to wonder if that was just a really big fat white bass or if that was in fact a striper. I've got a little Bomber 5A here. I don't throw these at all, so we're gonna get used to them and get to know them. And if you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. My name's Alan. I appreciate everybody's support. So this is a little floating lure by Bomber, and it'll dive down a couple feet. So we're gonna give this a toss, let it suspend a little bit, and maybe we'll catch some fish. It's a windy day, but where I'm standing, I've got some good cover behind me. But yesterday I did the little square bill challenge, and that was in the footage. Nothing, not even a sniff. So we may have to revisit that. So this is spot number 2, day 2. So this is kind of a dark color for this little square bill. I mean, this little 5A. It's just a little diver. I've got it on the little 5-foot ugly stick, little ultralight. There is some cabbage down here, so I got to be careful. I don't want it to dig too deep. It kind of reminds me of like a Rapala countdown minnow, but different, obviously. I mean, the Rapala countdown minnow, you just let that thing sink and then you start cranking. This guy's a little bit different. I think on this I just barely got any line on here, like it's 4-pound line. Yeah, look at that. That's a beautiful color down in the water right there. Yeah, we're only a couple weeks away, guys, from grass is starting to bloom a little, or green up a bit. Some trees are starting to bloom. Usually in Texas, it's like the first week of March. When I was in Amarillo, it was always like last week of March, things would green up. First week of April, I don't know. It's all temperature driven, soil temperature driven. Here we got a little bit of cabbage. Man, this is just a beautiful color to look good in clear water and in murky water. And then I got a whole bunch of these archy ones that are, I mean, this thing's barely, maybe 2 inches, just under 2 inches. The Arky ones I've got are 1.5 inches. I've never thrown those, so we'll throw different ones, test them out. So this is spot number 2 for this weekend of fun and fishing. Yeah, check that out, man. That is wonderful. So I need to, the thing is, I got to get used to how this will go here. So a couple cranks, kind of like when I throw my bigger ones, and then pull it through. Then maybe like a medium crank. Crappie are always feeding up, but they will hammer. They'll chase stuff down. I've seen that in clear water where they'll go down after stuff, but for the most part they feed facing up. So we don't want this to dig in too deep. So it just did a couple cranks there. It does have a rattle. Their lateral lines are going to pick that up. Pretty sure I've never thrown any of the 5As before. I love them, how they look, and I may have years ago, but I don't recall anything. To spare you guys video of no catches here, I've been throwing various colors in the bomber, little Fat A square bill, and the 5A. So this one is my Fire Tiger 5A, and it's just so much fun to throw. Look at those wakes down there. Catfishing are moving around. So what do we have in here? We have gar, we've got largemouth, we've got crappie, we've got striped bass, catfish, warmouths, and of course an assortment of sunfish. Man, that looks good, guys. It's just, it's got a sparkle in it. Look at that sparkle in there. And it's just a great color. Fire Tiger is always good color. And it's the contrast that they pick up really well. Still early yet, but we'll see if we can get some. Crappie pretty much have already started biting. I don't want to say aggressively, but they've definitely been super active. Now that we're starting to warm up. They're not as feeding frenzy like they should be, but they're more active, and I mean, people have been catching them. They know, these fish know spring is just about here. Man, that looks fantastic. If you never thrown a 5A, you got to throw one. You know what? I was thinking back, trying to look through footage. There's been a couple times in videos where I've thrown this little 5A. Just not any super duper advanced fishing. I only threw it for just a handful of casts. But today we're getting a workout. And the main thing is I need to get ready for when I head up to Oklahoma. Because I want to have a huge supply and array of stuff ready. I know what I'm going to do with the beetle spins, the MEPs. Those are no-brainers, and I've practiced with them. But sometimes you need, there's a lot of riprap and laydowns and junk in some of the spots over there. So one of these little 5As or a square bill will come in handy. So that's what we're gonna check out today in practice. All right, guys, I'll let you pick the colors. Hopefully the camera is pointing at that. This is one that Blake painted. We'll get to that in a little bit. So is this one. Here are the bombers I've tested. Tested this little meatball. I've got some mini rattles we'll test. But here are the Arkies. What do you guys think? This black and chartreuse, citrus color, orange. This black and orange one. All right, let's give it a shot. Good choice. I'm giving you guys all the credit if we catch something. Oof. My knees, my knees. Check out that color right there. Hopefully it's absolutely deadly. Yeah, with the breeze, of course, you know how it goes, you get caught up. Light line and wind don't always mix. I always use these little quick clips, 25 pounders. I've never had any issues dealing with fish, guys, with those little quick clips. Ever. And I used to do the little snaps, so they don't affect anything. I've compared it to direct tie, and in fact sometimes they, oh, look at that. And in fact sometimes direct line tie, ooh, it just had a little boil right there. In fact, direct line tie sometimes, oh dang it, I'm hung up. Crying out loud. Come on, Mr. Fish, come back up there and surface. No, the clip doesn't cause that. That's just because of the wind. But I've used the clips for a long, long time. There we go. This is a little Arky 220. Let's count and see how long it takes for it to get to the surface. 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi. I got a turtle, guys. No, it was cabbage. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. How'd you get buried so far into that mess? Sheesh. No, we're not going to dull any hooks today, please. There we go. Yeah, it's a nice little color right there. Yeah, she'll dig a little bit. I can't remember what was a bomber, about the same, a Mississippi. I might not have done that when the camera was rolling. So to keep it kind of suspending a little bit so the crappie can come up and look at it, I'll pull it like this or give it just one little down crank. Because a crappie will definitely use their lateral line when it's murky water. That's why you see guys with those long jigging poles, like around brush piles and stuff, they'll jig it and the vibrations go out and then the crappie can find it. Down here in like Texas or Oklahoma with that really darkened up dirty water. Now this water's decent. That was a big jump over there, guys. They're starting to wake up. They're starting to wake up. Spring is almost here. When does the winter officially end? March 21st or something? I can't remember any of that. The solstice. I think it's March 21st. I've just about got all my stuff ready for my trip to the coast. I got some badonkadonks from Bomber, some all-water stuff, some Smithwicks I'm gonna take. Some Bomber long A's that are like really tough plastic in case you get like any toothy type stuff down there in the ocean. You guys struck out on that color. My money was on that color. So now it's my turn to pick. I'm going with this little minnow color. So these are the, and I walked up and down the bank. So I do that with each of them. So old orangey, the old jack-o'-lantern. Nothing happened there. Yeah, that one looks pretty cool. Of course there's cabbage. Little splashes up and down there. I think those are little catfish coming up. Or could be little sunfish. Don't worry guys, I got my bass stuff here. So for you bass guys, I'll be chucking some big heavy duty stuff. Yeah, that's just absolutely sick. Dang it, that was a crummy cast. Let's see if it'll still... Oh, I didn't get hung up. Good. The thing is, with the wind blowing that way, the fish may be piling into those banks over there, but it's just, you know how it is when you're fishing into the wind. I try to do laterally or angled into the wind. But I've noticed here at this pond, I catch them the same. Because the fish, I guess, just kind of, they have their path they go around. If they're not just hanging out somewhere. There's another little sploosh up there. And there's some big crappies in here, guys. I've smoked some big ones. Well, the other day, throwing that little, I think it was a Zebco spinner, I cracked that big crappie. Oh! Oh, it was a log right there. I was thinking, man, I got hit. And I have been hit in 6 inches of water here. Lots of times over there. Yeah, I may only have like maybe one more time to fish the old log, because here pretty soon it's going to be snake season. Down in South Texas already starting to come out. Doesn't take much. Okay, you guys are up next. These? No. We got to stick with this one. Okay, thank you. We got to stick with... There's a little Norman Big O right there. We got to stick with these Arkies. You guys are trying to be sneaky. And change up the pattern, huh? Yeah, the wind's starting to pick up. Even more than it was before. Come on. There we go. Had a couple people come by with cameras. They're looking for birds and stuff, but man, they need to walk the creek, because here there are too many people around here. You're not going to see much. I haven't walked the creek or fished the creek because the water's been so low, but I never have any luck in that creek. Maybe with these little bombers and Arkies I'll have some luck. Oh man, the wind caught that one. All right, so you guys got a pretty cool choice here. Chartreuse and black. So chartreuse, when it gets down deep enough, when the light, there's less light, it almost looks like a light bulb down there. It's like bright white. So any of those contrast, the fish can pick up. So this black and chartreuse is a good contrast. There you go. Yeah, that's a good choice you picked. Let's see if we can get something. So far the wind has been cooperating where it's not bugging us too much. A couple of cranks, a slow pull. That's how I keep it down there. So when I crank it down, instead of cranking it down even further, I just pull it. That way it gives a crappie a chance to take a look at it. And I know they can pick it up because of that lateral line. I know this thing is full of fish. And fish are always biting unless they're this time of year when their metabolism is slowed down. We just got to find the right color combo. I usually have night crawlers with me when I come here, but I didn't get any this time. But I've fished here in the past, even in March, using night crawlers. I didn't have any luck. I was like, what is going on here? That looks just epic in the water. Come on, Arky, let's go. Yeah, that thing looks good. How is it not just getting crushed? Look at that, the wind. It's like a curveball. And this thing comes through the brush pretty good. The little cabbage, it may pick some up, but it comes through there pretty good. All right, time's up on this one. Sorry guys, you struck out again. Let's see which one I'm gonna pick. I think there's only one left really. This one's mine. Has a little blemish right there behind the eye. But that's okay. This is orange and chartreuse. Now there were two others that I used before we started doing the alternating. And of course we're not counting the bombers. And then after this, we'll try the two that Blake made. Look at that, you can see it floating way out there. It looks just like a little bobber. So this should look good down in the water. Orange, when it gets down deep enough, looks brown to the fish. So remember, when you crank it down to the depth you want to hold it there, just barely pull to try to let it flatten out. It'll still sink, but just a little, or just wiggle the rod tip. Not gonna lie guys, that breeze feels good. It is starting to warm up. The temperature's got to be in the 60s easy. I don't think we're supposed to have any more super duper cold, but it can happen. It can for sure can happen. When I was teaching in Amarillo, we had snow in March. It was cool because we had a spring break. Right before we went into spring break, the week before, you know, we get out Friday, then you have spring break. We got hammered by a storm on a Wednesday night, and we missed 2 days of school. Sometimes you don't have to make them up. We do have snow days, and if you do miss a day to snow, you got to make them up. I think we made one up in April, and we didn't have to make the other one, which means I had to put in like a little waiver, like emergency weather waiver kind of thing. Then I've been there where we've had snow in April, and then one time on like May 5th or May 3rd, we had a big snowstorm. Is that a bite? Is that a bite? No. Dang, I felt a little thump. Maybe one just came up and bumped it. My buddies that use that electronics, I'm not really I don't use them, so it's easy for me to say I'm not a big fan of them, but they'll talk about how they can see the crappie will come up and bump their stuff, and they'll swim up and look at it and then peel off. And sometimes that happens, they can see them in clear water down there if they're sight fishing. Man, this thing is just sick rolling through there. How is this thing not just, any of these just raking in fish? These are going to be perfect for that dark soiled water up in Iowa, in the creeks. See, I never used any of these in the running water, the rough water. I was always throwing tubes and stuff, and the tubes are just epic, but I want to try some of these out. And some of that water, that running water, as soon as it hits, it's going to go with the current. I'll have to crank down and just keep it coming. Let that thing crank down into the rocks and bang off the rocks. That'll get some fish attention. Look at the color on this. Whew. And these aren't too expensive, guys, over at Arky's. And Bomber's got a ton of colors in there. And the 5A. And don't forget about Rebel's little craws. Those little craws are deadly too. Especially like in creeks and things like that. There's like the wee craw, then there's the middle wee craw, and then the teeny craw. There's a little turtle right there. He's got that little orange or red slot on his ear. Does that mean he's a red-eared slider? Oh, I thought I had a bite right there. It was just cabbage. My gosh, guys, these fish have got to be biting. I mean, it's just too nice. Okay, so you can see the path I've been taking to cast these. So I start way down there, and then I come over here. All right, guys, I made it through all the Bombers and Arkies. We're going to take a look at this DC Dark Custom. This one, I don't know, this has got to be maybe some kind of Rapala. It was so beat up and bad, we couldn't figure out what it was. So he repainted it for me in like a minnow color. So I don't know how this thing will even act in the water. I haven't tested it. Ooh, is he a sinker? Oh yeah, he's a sinker. So this maybe is kind of like a Rapala. Before the Rapala Countdown minnow came in, this was like its predecessor. Let's let that sucker sink and we'll see what happens. Remember, crappie feed looking up, so you don't want it to sink too far. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so we're gonna bomb this thing around. See how it goes. All right, guys, we've come full circle back to the Bomber 5A. I've gone through all the Arkies, through everything. No bites. About to switch over to the bass stuff. All right, guys, on the Smithwick Rogue, I just got plowed into in here close. Looks like a nice bass. Out of all the stuff I was pitching, you guys saw me go through all the stuff. So the Rogue, I just let it dig down and then I just let it, you know, sit there. It'll sit and you just let it rise. Boy, this guy's got a lot of fight in him. This is on the new Mojo. He's got it right in his top lip. Oh, let's go. I don't want to have these things flare into my arms, so we're going to be careful here. Boy, he's a big bass. Come on. What is going on here? There we go. Check out this fatty. Look at the size of that thing on there. .8 pounds. All right, I goofed around with this dude long enough. Let's let him go. Smithwick. Oh. You know what, guys? When I got home last night, when I weighed that other fish, it was what, 1 point whatever. I'll have to do the conversion because that was 3 pounds. I was looking at it in kilograms. I forgot to switch it over. Anyway, all right, so on the Smithwick, let me show you what it looks like. Ooh. And so I just let it suspend there, and he just cracked it. This isn't one of the new colors by Frank Scalish. This is just a regular color. Come on, what is going on here? There we go. I gotta hold this out to try to read. Oh yeah, it's one of these perfect 10s, so it'll get down to 10 feet, and then I just hold it there, and it'll just, eventually it'll come up, but then I just kind of twitch it a little. Man, that was a nice fish. Good clean hook so it didn't bug his mouth too much. So after all the stuff I'd been pitching in there, nothing until I got this. And the key was just letting it sit, so I crank it down and then just kind of let it drift. So it's just sitting there like this now. Now I just pull it a little, tighten it up, and then I'll just wiggle it. And I just wiggle it. It's almost like they just can't handle it just sitting still like that. And I tried that with all those other crappie cranks, and I couldn't get anything. Boy, this bass, he was just hungry. So this one is, dang it. Olive shad, I think. Emerald shiner is the color. That's what the color is. All right, guys, so here it is, the Mojo Bass SC3 graphite, which essentially is that Trigon 3. There's a little dirt dauber buzzing around. It's got this cool kind of ruby cut. It changes. Sometimes it looks purple in the sun. But this one just on that Smithwick 15-pound braid, 12-pound fluoro. Same thing. I'm just kind of letting it do its thing. This is a perfect 10. What did I call it? I kept calling it something olive shad, but it's emerald shiner. This isn't the FX series. This is just a regular one, so I can practice with them before I turn loose the really nice FX shad ones. So I crank down, and then I just kind of pull it, drift it, pull it like this, because it'll suspend, and then I just wiggle the tip. But man, that fatty cracked it right in here close. I may have to throw a little spinner bait. But still trying to get used to throwing the Smithwick. Some of these are new to me, the styles of them, how they work. So, because these will work well up on the Mississippi River and some of the rivers I fish in Iowa for walleye. See, I think I'm going to bomb this under some of those heavy rapids, because when the water's coming down and the fish love getting under there, and this guy just gets boom boom and he'll sit there, I think he's going to get crushed. So that last one, I got a little bit of mud on the bill. That tells me I let it crank down too far. I was thinking driving home last night, I was like, there's no way that big fat, I don't know if it was a striper or just a big fat white bass, that thing was 1.3 whatever. I was like, this has got to weigh more than that. And sure enough, I had the conversion wrong. So he was over 3 pounds easy. Gosh, maybe even 4. Here, I'll show you the bill. I don't know if you can see the bill right there. Got a little mud on it. So, and part of that's when I get it in close and I'm trying to bring it through. But so if you never tried these rogues, man, go for it. Gotta try them. Rattling rogues. These are the perfect 10, meaning they get down to 10 feet and then they'll suspend there. The top 20 will get down to 20 feet if you do any trolling. I'm taking those with me when I go to the coast for sure. The top 20s. Oh, I felt something. I felt something. Well, I'm feeling just thump, 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 thump. Are those like little sunfish popping him? It's not cabbage, I know that. Wow, that was weird. Oh, maybe it was cabbage. Anyway, guys, go to LureNet. These don't cost that much. You know they catch fish. I've got some vintage ones that Blake is trying to fix for me, and then I've got other ones that are in the box. Vintage ones that I tried to patch them up. They're still in good shape. Then they have the smaller ones, like the little 4-inch. So it's, these kind of jerkbaits are new to me for the last couple years. So I like just practicing and throwing them. You never see them in my videos. Ooh, I felt a thump right there. Please tell me that's a fish. Oh my gosh. For crying out loud. Oh my gosh, guys. I guess it was cabbage down there. Man, oh man. Alright guys, the other modification I did was on the handle is I customized the grip with that lizard skin for pickleball or tennis rackets. I made it a little thicker. I did it on my other one. I used a kind of a different stuff that I had left over from pickleball stuff. But it's just a nice squishy grip now. It's tight. Still throwing this Perfect 10. On the buffalo hole. I also have like the Provoke and some other jerk baits. But man, I just, something about Smithwick, I guess the history. The funny thing is I don't even have a Devil's Horse, and the Devil's Horse was like the lure for many, many years, and some of these dudes still throw that. But that's just the other suspending ones are really good. Are they don't make them anymore, but the fat-free shad suspending model, especially for the winter when it's cool like this, it'll just hang there. And they just can't resist it. Alright guys, after this I'm going to switch to, let me do one more cast out in the middle, then I'm going to switch to, I think I'm going to throw a Ned rig. I hadn't thrown a Ned rig in a long time. We'll bounce that around and see what we get. There may be a spinnerbait. Alright, let's crank this bad boy down there. That bass, when I was trying to get him in, he threw the hook that was in his top mouth, and it went down, and the bottom two hooked up under him. I saw that when I was bringing him in. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna lose him. That was good stuff. So you can see how it just kind of sits there. One more cast, guys. I got to do one more with this. This is too good. Let's crank her down there. Okay, I got it cranked way down. Now I'm just going to let it sit. Give it a little bit of twitch. Pull it just a little. We're hooked up, guys, on the one knocker, on the let me get this. The Zebco Z-Spin right there. Zebco Z-Spin. Just that white color. He's not too bad, just a little fella. Cool little fish. Off he goes. Ooh, my knees. Just on this one, I like kind of testing these out and seeing how the old stuff works. I thought it was the Bomber Bushwhacker, but that one's a black one I've got. But check that out. I love the single Colorado. And you can see, oh, something just jumped over there. You can see that single works just fine. Blue skies, yes, it's white. Everyone's like, yeah, you gotta use it at night. I use it all the time. It's got that little Cajun twin tail for the trailer. All right, so what's next? One last shot throwing the little bombers, and then it'll be time to hit the road. And this Mojo is really nice rod. I may have to get a couple more of these. I didn't throw my little hair jig today. I just wanted to kind of, I brought it, but I wanted to test these. This color, guys. How in the heck did these just not get wrecked? Little Bomber 5A. Man, we went through the Arky ones. We went through the Bombers. Let's let this guy just kind of hover there. Boy, that was enclosed too, where the spinner got whacked. Not far out there at all. All right, guys, it's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thanks for hanging out with me. It was a fun morning. Exciting 2 days. Let me know what you're catching. Let me know what you're using. Don't forget, guys, go check out LureNet. They got all kinds of good specials. The bombers are just, the crankbaits are just a great price. You can't beat them. For like the big fat-free shad, what is it, like $3.99? Go check out the Smithwicks. And then they have like a paint shop that's kind of cool. You can look for some custom stuff. Then they've got all the head and stuff, Yum, Great Lakes Finesse. So I'm not sponsored by them, but man, I sure do like what they've got going on there. And of course, Frank, Uncle Frank Scalish, with all his contributions to the products there. Man, the guy's an absolute hammer and a stick. There's no, I mean, there's just, he knows what he's doing. There's just no doubt about it. And if he's putting that much effort into these, you know it's going to be worth it. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. And until next time, I will see you then. Now get out there and get your lures wet.